The mess hall fell silent when Rika entered. Aara then looked up from her protein ration, fork halfway to her mouth, and felt every eye in the room shift toward her. The Valorian cub dragged her left hind leg across the metal floor, each scrape of claw against steel echoing like a countdown. Behind her, through the doorway, shadows moved adults, dozens of them, massive forms waiting just beyond the threshold. "Oh no," Aara whispered. Rika was small for a Valorian, barely reaching Alara's waist, but her species didn't do small by human standards. 6 legs, crystalline scales that caught the fluorescent light, and eyes like molten copper that fixed on Aara with unnerving intensity. The cub limped forward, ignoring the other humans who pressed themselves against the walls, ignoring the Zenthari diplomats who'd frozen mid-conversation, ignoring everything except the human mechanic in the corner. Aara set down her fork. "Rika, sweetheart, you need the medical bay." "I'm not." The cub reached her table and sat, lifting the injured leg with a soft whimper that cracked something in Alara's chest. "I fix ships," Aara said, her voice cracking. Not people." Behind Rika, an adult Valorian stepped into the doorway. Then another, then 5 more. The pack alphas, their scales darker, their presence heavy enough to make the air feel thick. They didn't speak. Valorians rarely wasted words, but their meaning was clear. "Fix her." Alara's hands trembled as she stood. "Listen. I know we've had some misunderstandings about what I do. Yes, I fixed the irrigation system in your habitat. Yes, I repaired your gravity plates. But this is different. This is a living being, and your medics, the largest alpha, Matriarch Vess, growled low. The translator chip in Alara's ear crackled. "Our medics say her leg cannot heal. Bone shattered. Nerve clusters severed. They say she will never hunt, never run, never be whole." A pause, heavy with grief. "They say we must let her go." Alara's throat tightened. Let her go meant something specific in Valorian culture. A cub who couldn't keep pace with the pack was released to the wilds, a mercy killing disguised as freedom. "But you," Vess continued, taking one thunderous step forward. "You make dead things live. You take broken and make whole. You understand what others do not." "I understand machines," Aara protested, but her hands were already reaching for Rika's leg, fingers hovering over the swollen joint. The cub didn't flinch. 3 months ago, Aara had been called to the Valorian quarters because their climate control had failed. She'd found the problem, a corroded sensor that the station's engineers had declared irreplaceable. Instead of ordering a new one that would take 6 months to arrive, Aara had spent 8 hours in her workshop, building a replacement from spare parts, wire, and what her supervisor called witchcraft. The Valorians had watched her work with silent intensity. When she finished, Matriarch Vess had pressed her massive forehead against Alara's chest, the highest honor their species could give. After that, they'd started bringing her everything. Broken feeding mechanisms, malfunctioning doors, a communication panel that had baffled 3 certified technicians. Aara fixed them all, not because she was ordered to, but because she couldn't stand seeing things stay broken when she knew she could help. But this wasn't a door. This was a child. Aara knelt beside Rika, her fingers gentle as she examined the leg. The cub's scales were cool under her touch, smoother than they looked. She could feel the wrongness immediately, the bone fragments grinding beneath the skin, the severed connections that should have been firing with bioelectric signals. "The medics are right," Aara said softly. "With conventional treatment, this won't heal properly, but..." She trailed off, her mind racing through possibilities, through the experimental regeneration mesh she'd been developing for ship hull repairs, through the biocompatible conductors she'd designed for integrating human technology with alien systems. "But..." Vess pressed forward, hope cracking through her stoic facade. Aara looked up at the pack, at the dozen massive predators who could tear her apart without effort, who instead watched her with desperate faith. She looked at Rika, who hadn't made a sound of complaint, who trusted her completely. "I need 3 days," Aara said. "Access to the medical bay's imaging equipment, my workshop, and Rika's complete trust. I can't promise anything, but I have an idea. She stood, and the entire pack seemed to hold its breath. I'll need to build a scaffolding to support the bone while it heals, Aara continued, her engineer's mind taking over. Microfilaments to bridge the neural gaps. A temporary power source to stimulate tissue regeneration. It's never been done before. Not like this, but the principles are sound. Matriarch Vess stepped fully into the room, her massive form making the space feel impossibly small. She lowered her head until her copper eyes were level with Alaara's. Why do you help us? We are not your pack. You owe us nothing. Aara reached out and rested her hand on Rika's head. The cub leaned into her touch. Because I can't walk away from something broken when I know there's a chance to fix it, Aara said. Because your medics see a hopeless case, but I see a puzzle. Because she came to me, and that means something. She smiled, tears prickling her eyes. And because maybe we're more alike than different. You take care of your pack. I take care of anything that needs taking care of. The next 72 hours blurred together. Aara worked with a focus that bordered on obsession, fabricating components in her workshop, sterilizing them in the medical bay, carefully installing each piece, while Rika lay sedated. The pack maintained a constant vigil outside, their presence both intimidating and oddly comforting. When Rika finally woke, her leg wrapped in a lattice of gleaming filaments and regeneration mesh, Aara held her breath. The cub stood slowly, testing the limb. 1 step, 2, 3, then Rika ran. She circled the medical bay with increasing speed, her gait evening out as the neural bridges found their rhythm. As bone and technology worked in harmony, the joy in her movements was unmistakable. The pack erupted in roars that shook the station's walls. Matriarch Vess entered the medical bay and once again pressed her forehead to Alaara's chest. You are pack now, she rumbled. Always. Aara watched Rika play with the other cubs who'd been allowed in, watched her jump and spin without pain, and felt something settle in her chest. She hadn't just fixed a leg, she'd proven something the galaxy was still learning. Humans didn't just survive among the stars. They made broken things whole. They solved impossible problems. And they never, ever walked away from someone who needed help, even when the entire pack was watching, especially then.